When I was 6, I had an abuser that my mom kept kind of keeping me around. And he ended up strangling me. The most challenging part for me is knowing I can help to clean up your questions so you get better answers.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Thrive Hive Show with your hosts Azaya
and Revan. What's going on?
And today we have an awesome guest, something a bit different, someone who uses a communication tool, which is her intuition, to access information about people, animals, past loved ones, all different aspects of mediumship and communication with realms that most of us cannot see at times. And you have used this gift to become your life purpose, right? Your career, your life purpose. This is the one and only Ruth Barclay.
Thank you.
You may know her from her show called Taste Your Magic.
Taste Your Magic.
Taste Your Magic.
Yeah.
So can we start? Okay, they call you the Oracle.
Right.
Can you just tell us a little bit more about what does that day look like for you? Like, what is your average day as an Oracle? Let's start there.
Well, actually, that's a lot to talk about in one day. My gifts, or what I've really kind of honed it down into, is I have the ability to communicate with anything that's willing to communicate. And so this is a massive spectrum.
Wow.
That I've mastered over the years since I was little. And I've just been directed into different spaces, different countries, different leaders of tribes and stuff like this, where I had to learn who I was. And so on a daily basis, I have a ranch with horses, zebra. We do healing work with snakes. We've got goats and chickens and all kinds of cool things. And they're all part of the family. I've got kids. And so for me, it's the communication is just part of who I am continually. I'm talking to animals. We're seeing what's going on here, doing readings for people, preparing for retreats. So for me, it's like I actually need to be aware of if the space starts changing too much so that I can keep a grounded state and so that I can understand what I need to communicate to and what I don't need to communicate to that day or that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm curious, unless you wanted to jump in with a question, but I'm curious about kind of the origin story.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, how old were you when this all started happening?
How did the gifts start coming? How did people around you react when the gifts started coming? When you realized maybe what you had, and how did it feel for you inside?
So I've had this ever since I was born. In fact, talking to animals was like, I thought everybody could. I'm a funny person. And so I would do like lip syncing for the animals and stuff. And people would be like, it's almost like they're really saying it. I'm like, they're really saying it.
They're really saying it. They're really doing it.
Oh my gosh, they did it. They did what you just said. And so when my childhood growing up was radical. I had a lot of opportunities where I was safer outside of my family dynamic. And so I was able to connect with, I lived in Alaska, Arizona, and Utah. And so I was able to just go out into the wild in different places and connect with the spirits, with the trees, with whatever it is as part of my actual safety and family. One thing that did happen, and this is a little bit radical, right? That I haven't talked about until a few years recently. But when I was 6, I had an abuser that my mom kept kind of keeping me around, and he ended up strangling me when I was 6. And it was like a guilt thing. So we're kind of going really far right off, right?
Yeah.
And what happened is I was able to, as I came out of my body in it, I had 3 like beings that were there, and they were helping me to change his body dynamic, like raise his heart a little bit more, pull him out of the darkness that he was sinking into. Because later I find out that he was going to take me out, and then he was going to also kill himself too. So what happened is they showed me, and again, I'm in my 40s now, and this was when I was little, and so I can just only say what I remember as of now. But they taught me how to bring a light back into his body. And then I started to notice that my body was showing me signs, and it's my foot. So if I drift too far out of my body into different realms or different things that I'm getting answers from, my foot or my hand will tell me you need to come back because the body needs you now. And so I don't know how I was taught to get back in when I was younger, but what that did is it taught me how to perceive people in the humanness of who they are, the spirit of who they are, who's around them, helping them, and where are the alignments of truth in them, and what can you work with, and in that sense. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that was something that really I would say probably catapulted into a different direction than just loving the animals and stuff like that, because it was a safety thing. And so that's kind of like hard truths of how it started. But then it evolved through my years.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that that's not
I'm like shaking. I was like, why was this coming up?
Right. So. But it's not an easy memory to go back to. And, we always ask on this show that we're divinely inspired as channels to just share whatever is meant to come through us to serve whoever's on the other side. Yeah. And so I appreciate you being willing to take us back to that place, and
thanks for having a space that it was ready to come up in. So
someone needed to hear it today. I feel that very strongly. And for whatever the purpose is for their life, going through a struggle, and even having access to those other realms has the potential for struggle as well. It was like you were saved by it, you were informed by it, but then also when you come back into the real world, air quotes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And real world,
shrink back down into your body.
But into this 3D. When people don't necessarily understand the contact that you're having with the other side and the spirits of the animals and of the plants and everything, do you remember at first how you began navigating the relationship between the gifts and skills you have versus like, people won't get me, they think I'm weird, they think I'm out there. How do you protect yourself? How do you celebrate yourself in all of that?
That's nice. It's been very different in different circumstances. So I started to notice when I would be communicating at different ages that if it was too spot on, people would start to get like clammed up and shaky, and then
freak them out.
Yeah, and I'd be all by myself again, right? Just kind of wandering around and doing my own thing by myself. It wasn't until I was a little bit older. I started my own business when I was 15, working with horses and training people from around the world in competitions and stuff, because I could align the body up with the horse and hear what the horse is doing and stuff like that. But
that makes sense.
Back then, you had to have a health license in order to claim anything of health. Okay. And it's really evolved a lot since then. And so for the first part, I actually branched my gifts under my horses. And so for those who wanted to know more, we could kind of peek it out and share, right? And then I started getting people to come in, and the horses would help them through grieving. And so then we'd be like, well, would you like to talk to your loved one? And so that's how legally I was kind of branching under different areas. And
that was at 15.
I started at 15, and then it just kind of stuck with me till a while ago. We changed it into Taste Your Magic. It was mostly just like Silver Dance Ranch training and stuff like that. So it's been a really wild ride. During those times, I got an opportunity as I got older. I had an opportunity to work with the Kiowa tribe for 7 years, and the medicine man found me and trained me with his work also. And so that helped with a whole other dynamic of who I am and stuff.
Where are they? Just curious. I've never heard of the Kiowa tribe.
The Kiowa, he's in South Dakota.
South Dakota. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But I actually met him in Colorado at a different place event. But yeah, South Dakota. And then I started to realize what we could do with hands with the Reiki, and people were calling this Reiki thing when I was growing up. I'm like, what's this Reiki? I
there was definitely the trend.
Yeah, there was a phase.
Everybody was talking about Reiki all the time. Yeah.
It was so crazy. Yeah. So like, as I've grown up, I've gone through these generations of what people call different things and what the science now calls it, and the machines that can do them now. Yeah. That was all sacred work in the tribes and, in different countries and stuff like that. And so it's been a really fun time. So I started doing a lot of hands-on with people. But I was getting worn out. I couldn't release it. I was trying to figure out what was just going on with me that way. So I got taught how to protect myself, negotiate some things. And there's a time when I was really getting strong into communicating with the dead who's passed on. So as the wave's gone through, I've been asked to train or hone in this area for this spot or these people and as that started to come in, it was so overwhelming that my body, if someone came in, I'd be at a gas station or something, and they come in to try to get me to talk to who was helping me, I wouldn't even know who they are. And if I was ignoring it, then my body would like start shaking really bad.
Oh, wow.
And it would get like really weird looking, right? Because I'd be like
having a seizure at the cash register. I don't know what to do.
And I don't know how many times I was outwardly speaking versus inwardly speaking,
Wow.
And so that got me to where I just had to be okay with being embarrassed in spots and stuff like that. And they would also like to share with me. A lot of people are empathic, and so I've noticed that a lot of people are like, I feel as a message. They'll say, I feel that this is the message for you, or I feel this in your body, or because I feel it in myself. And so that was also how I was trying to connect a lot with the people who've passed on. But what happened is when they would explain to me why they were there, they would begin to embody like an accident in me. This is what happened. And so the vision and the picture would start becoming that. And then my body started experiencing it so that I could understand what they were doing. And it wasn't until I had a really bad moment where I sold a horse to a gal, and she was 16 to their parents. And when I went to go work with her for competition, she ended up dying the night before I got there.
No
and
way.
I was like, what? And
the girl died.
The girl died. And she was the only one in the family that wanted horses. And so there's my horse without his little girl we just barely sold him to. And we were just getting ready to go to a big competition. And so I ended up giving him back the money and taking the horse home. And it was like $25,000. And I could have really used that money at that time. But but when I was coming through my home area, and she came in to tell me, can you please talk to my parents? Can you please talk to my parents? And I'm like, hey, what would you like me to tell them? I didn't know the parents that well, but so let's see what's going on. And she said, I wasn't texting and driving. It was a deer. I wasn't texting, driving. It wasn't deer. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, is that what you wanted me to know? And the next thing I know, I'm driving, and I could feel like the seatbelt crushing into my heart and like taking my breath away. And I'm just embodying it. And all of a sudden, like I feel my whole body going off. And to me, these were visions. Yeah. And you just feel it. But I all of a sudden came to because the car started bumping off, and I almost hit a delineator. And I was like, holy cow,
Whoa.
This is insane.
Yeah.
This has to change.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
This is no more looking weird. This is dangerous.
Yeah, you're genuinely.
And you could have just said you're just you weren't texting, I got it pretty simple.
The words were fine. Like, you didn't need to run me off the road.
But whatever it was, she was so scared that her parents, because that's what they wrote in the report and everything like that. And
they wrote texting and driving in the report.
Yeah. And so I started just praying and asking, how can this be different? Show me what I get to do, because I'm going to be done with this. I don't know how I'll do it, but I'm going to be done with this.
Like, I'll shut it down somehow.
This isn't right. I've got way too many things that I want to live my own life with.
Right.
And so I started to know that you could negotiate. But when you negotiate, you also have to hold up your terms. So when I learn things, I actually learn first through the animals, and then I learn it as how to work with humans. They teach me a lot of how to do it. And so when you're training a horse, you do like pre-signals. Before you actually ask him, like kick him and click to him to do a faster speed, you do a pre-signal, like you'll breathe in, you'll create energy in your body, so they can prepare for you.
Yeah,
okay.
Right? Totally. That makes sense.
It's like a yellow light before a red light.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that way it keeps stress down. It gets them more in tune with you. And so that was the reference for me. So if I was saying, I promise to listen to a beginning stage of a message before it gets to the bad stage. And if I didn't, it would go further into the heavier stage. And so I had to really focus on the differences between my body and like your body and your body, the differences between density of spirits coming through. So some of them are more realistic density wise, like this is density, right?
Okay.
And like fog is less dense.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So I could tell, okay, this is how close, how strong they are, what we're talking about here. And so I started making promises of, okay, if I hear this or this starts happening, I'm going to take a pause and at least check in and either say, talk to me later, or I can talk to you right now. And if I did that, then it wouldn't go into a heavier, we need you now type thing.
So you're just creating boundaries like you would do with a human.
Exactly. It's exactly like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's really all it is.
Yeah. Well, and we do that working with plant medicines also.
Oh, yes.
You
have to do that.
People think when you go into working with the medicines that it's just you give up all control and you just let it completely take you. But you can negotiate in advance. You can have a conversation. It's a spirit medicine for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's a relationship that you begin to build. I've gone into many journeys where I've asked it to be gentle on me. Like, okay, I've had the hard stuff. I've had the hard experiences. What can you teach me? How can you shift me and grow me and elevate me, or release the things from me that don't belong to me or no longer serve me? But could you try it gently, please?
But it's very similar, though. It's very similar at the same time, because like when you first start working with it, it takes you over. You're like, wow, it's really overwhelming, right?
Totally.
And then,
or really exciting.
Right. Sure. One of the two.
You don't know
right.
what you're asking for internally that you didn't realize you're curious about, and then you find out
But
later.
But the more you...
that it's driving you off the
road. The more
road.
time you spend in that state of consciousness, the more you learn to work with it. And the more you learn to navigate it and be curious, or, just have a conversation with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's cool.
really good. It's a really good thing, and so I navigate the levels that same way. So I could be talking to you, and then we could put like loved one over here, or another level of somebody asking for support or help or a message or something like that. And so it's like I got compartments that are working that we can pull up from different spots and spaces and stuff. So.
Wow. So is this always on for you?
Yeah.
Like, when you're looking at me, are you actually seeing entities and spirits and guides and things, or do you have to actualize it? Do you have to turn it on and request it?
It's always happening, but now that I'm older and I've had so many radical experiences of different stages and help with it, it's like if you're trying to talk to somebody in a public place, there's all this stuff going on around you, but you can still focus on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if there's something like a bird that just keeps chirping, eventually gotta be like, gosh, that bird, okay, there's a bird that's just driving me crazy right now.
That bird's got something to say.
Yeah.
Then that happens. There were times where I was doing movement work for like helping excel the generation that was coming about 10 years ago. And just grounding. It was really working on how to ground people. And I think it's because the plant medicine and all the medicines were about to get really big, like really big. And when that happens, the environment also starts shifting. So everybody, whether they're doing it or not doing it, is going to start to feel the earth move, feel something shifting in them, right? And when that was happening, I actually needed to be out of my body to get the message, to understand the density of it, the fullness of it. And if I ignored when it was starting to come through, then I actually would drop into like a seizure, or I would just start going out random places and different things like that. And so now that's another negotiation that I've made, we start feeling an episode coming on or something like that. How do we get to do it different?
Right.
Yeah, it's really, really radical, fun stuff.
That is fun. I mean, fun.
That's a word for it.
Really fun.
Right. Is there anyone in your family that has these gifts?
I actually believe that the majority of my siblings probably do.
Okay.
But because of what we went through growing up, they've taken different directions. Some have been like, we're not going to discuss this with my family. Some are like, they just went too far off. Right?
Got it.
And so it's different. They all have their different experiences with it, but I don't know if it's as much as mine. They say it's not, but I don't know. So it's been an interesting thing.
Families are weird like that, right?
Exactly.
You all experience the same environment, and some will talk about it and some won't, and some will try to heal from it and others will shut it down.
Yeah.
And, it's like the old, experiments where they would track twins and growing up in the same exact environment, and one ends up as a drug addict and the other ends up as a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
And why and how and why is that? And I feel like the conclusions have always been, it's not about what happens to us. It's about the meaning that we give that, the story that we allow it to mean about who we are.
Yeah.
And then that's how it expresses in the world in terms of, are we going to become a healer who shares our gifts with others and helps, create ripple effects of healing through the world? Or are we going to tell ourselves the story that the thing that happened to us meant that we were bad, we were wrong, we were a piece of we were terrible, we were worthless. And then we go in on ourselves and self-sabotage, as opposed to, well, maybe this happened for me. Maybe this hard stuff actually was here to forge me into something that has a kick-ass story that someone out there is going to need to hear to also heal their own life. Right.
Yeah.
And so I see that in you. And I just want to take a second
Yeah.
to honor that in you, the courage that it takes to really be the one willing to take what happened to you and turn it into good.
Thanks.
So
I have a question.
I would love to answer it.
So, like, we have our beliefs, right? Like about spirituality and, like soul contracts coming into this world and, all the things that people talk about spiritually, metaphysically, what have you. They're beliefs for us, right? Like it's one of those things, like you believe it, you have experiences, we have experiences. The psychedelics, plant medicine, sacred work has been a big part of that, I think. And I think that's where that popularity and the expansiveness of that is getting bigger, is because people are craving like that connection.
Yeah.
What's it like to not just believe it, but to experience it every day and to like live it and embody it to that level? Like, how do you balance like this 3D world and knowing that there's so much more than this?
That is like an amazing question. And I don't know if it's the way you're asking it or who you are, who you guys are, or if it's just the right timing. But I'm like, holy crap, I feel like crying.
Well, cry.
And so what is really, sometimes it's like a rush of gratitude and hope that comes through my body. That's just like, oh, like I know how much more there is.
Yeah.
And I know like how strong faith in your navigation and God or who source or whatever you talk to, right?
Yeah.
And if you can really just align with that and be that listening, how good it is. And then there's the flip side where it's like, there's so much we could say.
Yeah.
There's so much I could give you to experience yourself, right? But at the same time, it's if it's for you, I can't go to the point where I know for me, right? It's so it gets sad. It gets hard. It gets, I have to walk away from a lot of things that I'll pray for to protect me and my family and help them. Have somebody help them. Have something help them as far as they can go, right? Because I can't be in there anymore with it. Or, oh, that's all they want to know?
Oh.
Dang it. This could have been really fun.
What's it like, when, I mean, this show is all about healing, growing, and thriving, right? Like that's like kind of the arc of, because everybody goes through that process. I think that's part of the human story. That's what, kind of we do. And what would you say to somebody like, cause like a lot of times people are healing from things that are happening in this 3D and happening in this, this existence. And it only really hurts because they don't realize or connect or tap into that other side. And that's where a lot of the healing could be. Like, that's where you don't need to suffer if you just realize this is there. So, what would you say to somebody who's like suffering and like I don't know, guidance steps or thoughts or states of consciousness? Like, what can they do? Like, what would you guide somebody if you were talking to them one-to-one?
Yeah. A big part is sometimes I need to get clarity on how willing they are. When they say I'm really willing, then at that moment, I try to help them understand maybe their real intentions, their real asking. What is your real asking? And so we kind of uncover a little bit more of what's the real asking. Because sometimes when we ask for questions, it's a really simple way to see it this way, but we ask, I need money right now. And so we might pray for it, or we might ask for it fast, or we might need it easy, or we might need it safe, right? But that's sometimes we don't understand what we're asking in it. And so we'll be like, we need the money fast, but really our heart's like, I need it to come safely. And that could mean really slow and really different.
Yeah, that's true.
And so sometimes that's a good way to be like, if this is happening to you and you're healing from it, what do you feel as you're asking out of it? What are you needing fulfillment in this? Because sometimes a lot of us will stay in the torture because we don't know how to have others see us and the pain we're really experiencing unless it's outwardly shown. And or for different reasons we keep a hold of this pattern or this cycle until you can kind of feel into yourself a little bit more. What really is my asking in this? And am I willing? What if it means you gotta be alone for a little bit? Or what if it means the money comes a really fast way, but you don't like who helps you with it? What are your willingness in that? And it's okay to take steps. It's okay if I take this, let's say if I take this money from somebody I don't really want to, am I okay with this? And how far am I okay with it?
Yeah.
And so if you say yes to it, you're off a little bit, right? Because you don't like the person. And you're on because it's a gift to you somehow. And so at that point you ask another question. okay, now that I have it, how's the best way for me to move forward from this? I mean, that was a lot of different questions, but a lot of it breaks down to what is the real asking and what are you willing to do next?
Right.
And just those steps. So
that willingness is massive, you know, I mean, because there's a sacrifice to everything. And we have to get really clear on what the pain we're willing to undertake to any endeavor that we're willing to do. You know, you want to go get fit. How much pain are you willing to endure for that? With your diet, with your, you know, the actual weightlifting, with the stretching, with the time,
discipline. Yeah,
there's
just
a
like all of it.
sacrifice to everything. And even in the emotional and the healing and the, you know, there's even a sacrifice. And I'd love to hear your experience with some people that have worked with you on this, but like there's a sacrifice that we have to let something go when we're willing to heal as well. You know, like you mentioned the victimness. We were talking about radical accountability and a victim mindset. But if someone comes for a healing, they're looking to have something released from them. They also have to be willing to let go of a victim story. And there's a lot of payoff, quite frankly, for many people in having that victim story, right?
Oh, yeah.
They can wear it as a badge of honor. They can use it as an excuse for why they're not showing up in a certain way.
Yeah.
We all can. I say they, but like
everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I think there is no, like, you don't have it unless you're gaining something from it. You have to be gaining something from it. Otherwise, you're not holding on to it.
Yeah.
And people, I think a lot of times aren't willing to acknowledge the gain.
Right. But once we do, then we can get freedom to actually release that victim story. How often do you see people needing to keep returning time and time over and over and over again? I guess because they're not willing to acknowledge the win that they have by holding on to that pain or holding on to whatever the trauma is. So subconsciously they are like, oh, I want to let it go. But I get too much by having it, and they'll keep coming back. Right.
Yeah.
Do you see that happen a lot or?
Oh yeah, I do. And, it was a lot more when I was younger working with people, because I think I was okay with them getting more help and stuff like that. I felt like it maybe somewhere in me, I was like, oh, I'm fulfilling even more because they're coming out for more help and I'm the only one that can help them or something of that nature. Now it's not as much. Now, if they come back with the same story, luckily, if it's to me and my environment or my retreats or anything like that, they have leveled up somehow. And so now we can look at the puzzle pieces that they have now and what are some more pieces that we can maybe give you. Or I like to like shake it up like a sand, and what are the things that are more important now to you, or what the time is now. So
I have a feeling you'd be pretty strict too. Like if I came back to you for a second time, you'd be like, kick my ass, girl. You'd be like, don't bring that to me. You do that work. We did it once.
Like, go talk to the horses for a little bit.
Like you
get the snake today.
Oh, hey.
Come to the Dominican. I'd love to hear what the snakes have to say to us that I don't necessarily need.
I would love you to come down to our eco hotel and retreat center in the Dominican and just like give us the lay of the land on what you feel.
I
want to know what the snails say too.
We have 200 steps. It's like kind of like Lord of the Rings meets Bali.
Ooh,
okay,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hotel, right? And so there's 200 steps going up into the wilderness. And when it rains at night, we get these awesome snails. They're like this big around.
And they just crawl.
And they're everywhere. And you have to, like, you're going
thousands of them
to our open air restaurant or our living room that's built into the side of the rocks for like a retreat or whatever. And you have to step gingerly around the snails.
So you're not squishing
and every once in a while, I mean,
every once in a while you go,
you feel like the worst person. I feel like the worst person. No, I was like, I just squished it. And then you can feel the splat like after the crunch. And I'm just like, I want to know what the snails are thinking. Are they looking at us being like, careful, the giants are coming, right? Or are they like, this shell really sucks. Could you please help me out of here? Like, I'm ready to reincarnate, you know, like just take me out foot. Like, are they asking for it? Or are they in some esoteric realm where they're thinking about the meaning of life?
This is the sacred place you go to. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Up level to the light. Right?
That's awesome.
I'm going. Yay!
I mean, I hope that they're celebrating. I'm like, I just released you to the next realm. I don't know. Maybe that's just because I feel like a piece of shit about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Nice.
that
man.
that would be great. Sometimes it really is just that you are that perfect one to give the nugget or the perfect one to say the hard truth, or, it's a really good.
So I got, what's the most rewarding thing?
This looks like a 2-part or a 3-part question coming. How many parts?
And what's the most challenging part?
Just 2. Okay, just 2. I got to worry sometimes. He's like, he could do like a 5-part question. And all of a sudden we're like,
no, we don't have that much time.
It's good, babe.
You did a good job. So like when you ask, you pull the story in and then you narrow it.
Yeah.
When you ask, you narrow it, but then you're like, go for it.
Yeah.
That's such a good read. We do that.
Totally.
Which one's easier to answer?
They're both pretty easy. Yours gets tricky because now it's on me to filter it more
and bring it back down.
You're more caring and say, hey, I'll help with the situation a little bit, and here's that. And yours is more like,
well, you're the star. I want you to have the space.
It's up to you now.
He gives you the whole world of opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll help you out, sister. Just a little one for you.
Okay.
Two-part question. That's an amazing reflection. Okay. Now I see the extra. I can only imagine what you would do in the other realms.
Oh,
if you can do that in the 3D, girl, you're on something. You're on something real good. Okay.
Thank you.
So now to the question. Which I've forgotten. Yeah. Do you remember the question?
I do. I can circle around almost every time. Okay, so what's the most rewarding?
Yeah.
And then what's the most challenging?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like we've talked a lot about the challenging stuff, but I'll go with that first just because it's shorter since we covered a lot. The most challenging part for me is knowing I can help and also being told it's not my time to help. That's actually the most challenging.
So before you go on to the rewarding, I got to go a little deeper in that. Like, what do you do for yourself in that? How do you navigate that?
Sometimes I have to, it depends on where I feel very strongly in it and where I don't. Sometimes it's like, I say, I'm so happy it's not my business. I'm so happy it's not my business, right? And that's an easy way. But the other times are, okay, if it's not me, do I have somebody that I know, right? And so I start simplifying questions and because that way I feel completed and not guilty that I hid from something. Because sometimes I can't always tell if it's just me and there's a part of me getting shaky with that. And I'm hearing it's okay, not right now. Yeah. Or is it really saying, no, Ruth, not right now?
Got it.
And so that's where I start simplifying the questions and seeing what goes on. Sometimes I just have to go rage it out to the animals and talk to them and tell them, and
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. We have because I want to get to the rewarding part too, but we have a 14-year-old daughter who is obsessed with horses.
Oh, nice.
And she has a challenging time with humans. Like she just is very kind of cold. And like, if you look at her human design, I don't know if you're into that whole world, but like, she's just designed to kind of be a little bit to herself and whatever, but she just turns into a completely different human being when she's around horses. And she's just got it. And dogs. But like the connection with the animals for her, it was a weird thing for us to really just get to the place where like, this is real for her. It's not just some weird childhood thing.
I may have called it a phase.
Yeah.
Please forgive me. Everybody says a little girl and the horses.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, sweetheart.
Such a classic story.
Yeah.
Totally. I was
but
like, what a cute phase you're in. And now she's 14 and she's my size and she's got like 40 pounds on me.
Yeah.
And she's like, told you it wasn't a phase, Mama.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
totally.
Okay, you were right. I'm a little scared of her. But it wasn't a phase. She was right. And she has this communication with them. I don't know that it's to your level, but
there's so much. No, just like there's so much power in the animals, and we've talked to people with abilities, similar to yours, but I've never met somebody that is both on the animal side and the human side. And have you?
That's true.
I've never met anybody that does both.
And she doesn't like humans. She only likes animals.
She literally will tell you, I don't like humans. If I had a choice, there was 2 people here and one of them had to die, the human's dying. Like straight up. Like it's like, I'm like, that's really dark,
honey,
babe.
You want to go out to
but
lunch?
Cool.
Like,
okay.
what do I do with that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, and my hand is, and I was like,
oh yeah, exactly.
I love you too. from across the room.
Yeah,
Like, I
exactly.
don't know what to do with it. But
Yeah.
she has softened a lot. The more time she spends with the animals,
Mm-hmm.
her edges have softened
Yeah.
for sure.
For sure.
And
Good.
I don't know, maybe is there a way that we would kind of figure out if she has these additional abilities, or leave it alone and let her just do her thing?
You can't get that close with a horse unless you have some.
Really?
Yeah, they'll only
Oh.
go so far because they are really about the connection. They're really about the vibrational communication. They're really
that's
about
amazing.
your authenticity showing up.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I've heard. They don't talk
Cool.
to me though. So I
Well,
don't know. Everyone
I
says
don't
that
know.
they read energy and you share energy, and I get up close to them. I'm just being really vulnerable right now.
And they go,
Don't hate me. And they like lean in towards me and I get scared. And then I was like, wait, but they can read my energy that I'm getting scared. I'm not supposed to be scared. And like, then I get all up in my head, and this whole special connection we could have had goes away when I remind myself that I could be trampled in
Yeah.
a hot second.
Yeah.
And then it kind of ruins the feeling. It ruins the moment that we were about to have with me
Yeah.
and the horses. And so I go,
Yeah.
you know, it's cool. I'll look at you in the field. I'll send you all the love.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
well,
they
before
are
we run
special.
out of time too, I do,
Yeah.
what's the most rewarding
Oh,
thing?
yeah. Back to
Oh, it's good.
Because this is,
Yeah. On yours, real quick though, it's like if you throw anybody into too heavy of a fear component, then their survival comes through, and fear blocks any type of real connection.
right.
And so that's if you could even talk to them, find your distance to the animal, or find your distance where you feel that, and then stay there. You don't have to go all the way in order to feel where they're supporting your connection and energy.
Why didn't I
Like
think of
with
that?
people,
Leave
you know,
it
you
to
can't
me.
stand
Yeah.
like, hey, hi.
Are you going to lick me right now? I don't
You know, it's like he said, you just treat him like a human a little bit, right?
All right. Give a little distance.
I don't
that's
know
awesome.
the person. You're
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
all up in their grill, right? So
Right.
anyway, that's just another
Start
way
petting
to
her. Just
So
like,
back
just
off,
walk up to
babe.
people, just start petting them.
That's
and people.
back off, babe. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All
All
right.
right.
Anyway, that's
Yeah,
a way
yeah.
you could think about it. But
Thank you. Thank you for
and
that.
maybe she can just fill those boundary lines, and she's more open with it with an animal. So the more rewarding side to me is the completion, the growth, the actual process of seeing the person or the animal or whatever we're working with actually receive or actually heal, or that really is the most rewarding. And fortunately, I stayed out of working with the governments a lot and a lot of the different associations and stuff, because I could do it too fast, because it was sustainable. We were working with all kinds of, ailments and terminal and PTSDs and all kinds of stuff. And we were just clearing them out and settling the body in too fast.
Oh, wow.
So I had to stay out of the actual licensing and clinical sides of what the government
Totally.
comes in with.
Well, I mean, that's a fascinating thing. And this is on YouTube. So we got to be careful how we phrase this, because I don't want to get a strike or anything of that nature. But like when it comes to certain illnesses or, whatever, energetically, I mean, you're able to work with a lot of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's powerful.
Yeah. And if I'm not able to do it, or I don't want to do it, then I'm also able to see what's going on around them, and maybe something else could help. Or, hey, do you know this person? You might want to talk to this person. So I'll ask questions and I get the answers, is what it is.
Have you
So-
seen anything? And I'm thinking of a specific situation. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Have you seen where like an individual gets sick and they're carrying a sickness that isn't theirs? It's actually somebody that they spend most of their time with, maybe a partner, business partner, spouse,
Yeah.
whatever. And it's not really theirs, but it's
Yeah.
over
And they're
here.
filtering through it.
yeah.
That's what animals do a lot of for
Really?
people. And we have to it's like they're taking the container of the person and then becoming.
Wow.
So we do clearing work on the animals too. But oh yeah, definitely.
That's all.
Environment is so big.
Yeah. Totally.
It is really big.
It's fascinating how important it is the time, the people that we spend our time with in the environment, but the energy of people and I guess animals. I never thought about the animals, but in that capacity. But that's fascinating. All right, so We got to
Okay, so
wrap
I
this
have a
up.
question for you.
Oh.
Do you do any
enough.
remote healing work, or
Yes.
is it all in person?
No, in fact, the last couple of years, I kind of stuck a lot to remote unless you were at an event, whereas a group or something like that, or you're doing private mentoring. So like just little private sessions here and there. It's all, I can do all of it through remote. Talk to animals, loved ones, body, yourself, your gifts, your all kinds of different things.
So
I had a follow up to that.
Oh, well, you got to let me know. I got a 2-part.
I know. I should have done the finger. Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah,
maybe
I need
next
the
time.
fingers.
Okay. So then my next follow up to that is like, who is the ideal person? And I'm not talking about the demographics, but I'm talking about the psychographics of who is the right person to come to you in terms of how do they know that that you're at the right time in their healing? For example, like could they go use the psychedelic medicines? Could they go do past life regression? Could they do the Reiki? Like any number of other healings. How do they know when is the right time to come and see you as part of their healing journey to be kind of your ideal client? Yeah. If that makes sense.
My protection around me kind of helps filter that. Okay. So if I become in your awareness, then at that point, you'll find a way to connect some way. And whether it's directly through this or through somebody else, something like that. So when it's time to come to me, if you keep feeling it, then I can do something for you. Okay. But usually at this point in my life, you've got to be ready, right? Because we can't just.
You're not just scratching the surface of things. You're going deep.
And it doesn't mean like. So I used to have to train myself how to not be in like a psychedelic state. It wasn't until I was older that I realized, because I tried some like when I was 30 some, right? I was like, oh, this is like my playground. Like everybody could be lit up.
We have
and
another
would be
friend
like,
that says that.
I don't have to be at all. Like now you guys can talk to me with it.
Yeah.
But so whatever you get called to do before you come to me, you also don't even need to be started in this. I get people that are just naturally gifted, naturally open. They're trying to find a reference of who they are and what this is. And I can reference what's going on with you and teach you. So it's mostly just if you feel ready and the call, then there's stuff that's ready for you.
Amazing.
And then after that, it's a process of how to complete that. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's, time. Sometimes it's, no, you got to go do something else first. So,
awesome. So you're bringing them back to themselves and their own inner knowing to follow your own intuition.
Yeah.
Cool. So a parting word or thought potentially to somebody who's been watching this, is totally feeling you, is maybe seeing themselves in you or feeling a call to your work. What message would you have that you'd want to leave?
The message I would like to leave is to get clear on the questions you're asking for. The more clean cut a question can be in your askings, in your prayers, the more clean cut an answer can come, and you can always build on it. And so, clean up your questions. Like instead of saying, any answer's great, or all the answers, say today, you could even ask, what would be a good question for me to ask today? And then get that and then ask it. And then the more that you can acknowledge what's happening with you, not in necessarily a victim way, but, I think I saw something pass by me. If you acknowledge it, and then you can build on it. If you deny it, then it just washes through stuff. So don't be afraid to acknowledge some stuff that's happening with you and clean up your questions so you get better answers.
The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. That's the quote that I used to use a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
It's very
it's
true.
The same in this space. That's awesome.
Too many answers can come in as a blank.
Yep.
Right. That's true. Discernment. I love it all the way. Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here, everyone.
And we're going to put your socials down in the description. So
awesome.
anybody you guys want to check her out, definitely go do so.
Ruth Barclay. And in the process, keep healing, growing, and thriving.
All right.
See you next time.